Shemuel Bet, or 2 Samuel, chapter 24. And again the displeasure of Yehovah burned against Israel, and moved David against them to say, Go, number Israel and Yehudah. And the sovereign said to Joab, the commander of the army who was with him, Go, please, throughout all the tribes of Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, and register the people, so that I know the number of the people. And Joab said to the sovereign, Even if Yehovah your Elohim does add to the people 100-fold more than there are, and the eyes of my master the sovereign see it, but why does my master the sovereign delight in this matter? However, the sovereign's word was strong towards Joab and against the commanders of the army. And Joab and the commanders of the army went out from the presence of the sovereign to register the people of Israel. And they passed over the Yarden and camped in Ararar on the right side of the town, which is in the midst of the Wadi of Gad, and towards Yazir. And they came to Gilad and to the land of Tatim Hodishi. And they came to Dan Ya'an and around to Sidon. And they came to the stronghold of Tsor and to all the cities of the Hivites and the Canaanites, and went out to South Yehudah as far as Beersheba. And when they had gone through all the land, they came to Jerusalem at the end of 9 new moons in 20 days. And Joab gave the number of the registration of the people to the sovereign. And there were in Israel 800,000 brave men who drew the sword, and the men of Yehudah were 500,000 men. And the heart of David struck him after he had numbered the people. And David said to Yehovah, I've sinned greatly in what I've done. But now I pray, O Yehovah, take away the crookedness of your servant, for I've done very foolishly. And David rose up in the morning, and the word of Yehovah came to the prophet Gad, David's seer, saying, Go, and you shall speak to David. Thus said Yehovah, I hold 3 options before you. Choose one of them, and I do it to you. Gad then came to David and informed him, and said to him, Should 7 years of scarcity of food come to you in your land? Or would you flee 3 new moons before your enemies while they pursue you? Or should there be 3 days' plague in your land? Now, know and see what answer I take back to him who sent me. And David said to Gad, I am in great trouble. Please let us fall into the hand of Yehovah, for his compassion is great. But do not let me fall into the hand of man. And Yehovah sent a plague upon Israel from the morning till the appointed time, and from Dan to Beersheba, 70,000 men of the people died. And the messenger stretched out his hand over Jerusalem to destroy it. And Yehovah relented concerning the evil, and said to the messenger who was destroying the people, It is enough. Now stop your hand. And the messenger of Yehovah was by the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. And David spoke to Yehovah when he saw the messenger who was striking the people, and said, See, I have sinned, and I have done perversely, but these sheep, what have they done? Let your hand, I pray, be against me and my father's house. And Gad came that day to David and said to him, Go up, raise a slaughter place to Yehovah on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. And David, according to the word of Gad, went up as Yehovah commanded. And Araunah looked and saw the sovereign and his servants coming toward him. And Araunah went out and bowed before the sovereign with his face to the ground. And Araunah said, "What is my master the sovereign come to his servant? Why?" And David said, "To buy the threshing floor from you, to build a slaughter place to Yehovah, so that the plague be withdrawn from the people." And Araunah said to David, "Let my master the sovereign take and offer that which seems good to him. Here are cattle for a sending offering, and threshing implements, and the yokes of the cattle for wood. All these, O sovereign, Araunah has given to the sovereign." And Araunah said to the sovereign, "Yehovah, your Elohim, accept you." And the sovereign said to Araunah, "No, let me buy it from you for a price, for certain. I'm not offering ascending offerings to Yehovah my Elohim without cost." So David bought the threshing floor and the cattle for 50 shekels of silver. And David built a slaughter place to Yehovah there, and offered ascending offerings and peace offerings. And Yehovah answered the prayers for the land, and the plague was withdrawn from Israel. First Chronicles 21. And Hasatan stood up against Israel, and moved David to number Israel. And David said to Joab and to the rulers of the people, "Go number Israel from Beersheba to Dan, and bring the number of them to me, so that I know it." And Joab answered, "Yehovah does add to his people 100 times more than they are, but my master the sovereign, are they not all my master's servants? Why does my master seek to do this? Why should he be a cause of guilt in Israel?" But the sovereign's word was strong against Joab, and Joab left and went throughout all Israel and came to Jerusalem. And Joab gave the sum of the number of the people to David. And all Israel had 1,100,000 men who drew the sword. And Yehuda had 470,000 men who drew the sword, but he did not number Levi and Benjamin among them. For the sovereign's word was loathsome to Joab. And it was evil in the eyes of Elohim concerning this matter, and he struck Israel. Then David said to Elohim, "I've sinned greatly because I've done this matter, but now I pray, take away the crookedness of your servant, for I have done very foolishly." And Yehovah spoke to Gad, David's seer, saying, "Go, and ye shall speak to David, saying, Thus said Yehovah, I hold 3 options before you. Choose one of them for yourself, and I do it to you." So Gad came to David and said to him, "Thus says Yehovah, choose for yourself either 3 years of scarcity of food, or 3 new moons to be defeated by your foes with the sword of your enemies overtaking you, or for 3 days the sword of Yehovah, even the plague in the land, with the messenger of Yehovah destroying throughout all the borders of Israel. And now consider what answer I am to return to him who sent me." And David said to Gad, "I'm in great trouble. Please let me fall into the hand of Yehovah, for his compassion is very great, but don't let me fall into the hand of man." And Yehovah sent a plague upon Israel. 70,000 men of Israel fell, and Elohim sent a messenger to Jerusalem to destroy it. And as he was destroying, Yehovah saw and relented about the evil, and said to the messenger who was destroying, "Enough, now stop your hand." And the messenger of Yehovah was standing by the threshing floor of Ornan, the Jebusite. And David lifted his eyes and saw the messenger of Yehovah standing between earth and the heavens, having in his hand a drawn sword, stretched out over Jerusalem. And David and the elders, wrapped in sackcloth, fell on their faces. And David said to Elohim, "Was it not I who commanded the people to be numbered? I am the one who sinned. I have done evil indeed. But these, the sheep, what have they done? Let your hand, I pray, O Yahweh my Elohim, be against me and my father's house, but not against your people to be plagued." And the messenger of Yahweh commanded Gad to say to David that David should go up to raise a slaughter place to Yahweh on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. So David went up at the word of Gad, which he had spoken in the name of Yahweh. And Ornan turned and saw the messenger, and his 4 sons with him hid themselves. And Ornan was threshing wheat. And David came to Ornan, and Ornan looked and saw David. And he went out from the threshing floor and bowed down to David with his face to the ground. And David said to Ornan, "Give me the site of the threshing floor so that I build a slaughter place to Yahweh on it. Give it to me at the complete price so that the plague is restrained from the people." And Ornan said to David, "Take it for yourself and let my master the sovereign do what's good in his eyes. See, I shall give you the cattle for the ascending offerings, the threshing implements for wood, and the wheat for the grain offering. I give it all." And sovereign David said to Ornan, "No, but I shall certainly buy it at the complete price, for I do not take what's yours for Yahweh, nor offer an ascending offering without cost." And David gave Ornan 600 shekels of gold by weight for the place. And David built there a slaughter place to Yahweh, and offered ascending offerings and peace offerings, and called on Yahweh. And he answered him from the heavens by fire on the slaughter place of the ascending offering. Then Yahweh commanded the messenger, and he returned his sword to its sheath. At that time, when David saw that Yahweh had answered him on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite, he slaughtered there, for the dwelling place of Yahweh and the slaughter place of the ascending offering which Moshe had made in the wilderness were at that time the high place in Gabon. But David was unable to go before it to inquire of Elohim, for he was afraid of the sword of the messenger of Yahweh. Chapter 22. David then said, "This is the house of Yahweh Elohim, and this is the slaughter place of ascending offering for Israel." And David commanded to gather the sojourners who were in the land of Israel, and he appointed stonemasons to cut hewn stones to build the house of Elohim. And David prepared large quantities of iron for the nails of the doors of the gates and for the clamps, and more bronze than could be weighed, and cedar trees beyond number, for the Sidonians and those from Sor brought much cedar wood to David. And David said, "Shelomoh, my son, is young and tender, and the house that is to be built for Yahweh is to be exceedingly great, for a splendid name to all the lands. Please let me make preparation for it." So David made extensive preparations before his death. He also called for his son Shelomoh and commanded him to build a house for Yahweh Elohim of Israel. And David said to Shelomoh, "My son, as for me, it's been in my heart to build a house to the name of Yahweh my Elohim. But the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, You've shed much blood and have fought great battles. You do not build a house for my name, because you've shed much blood on the earth in my presence. See, a son is to be born to you, who is a man of rest, and I shall give him rest from all his enemies all around. For Shelomoh is his name, and peace and rest I give to Israel in his days. He does build a house for my name, and he is to be my son, and I am to be his father, and I shall establish the throne of his reign over Israel forever. Now, my son, Yehovah be with you. Then you shall prosper and build the house of Yehovah your Elohim, as he has said to you. Only let Yehovah give you wisdom and understanding, and command you concerning Israel, so that you guard the Torah of Yehovah your Elohim. Then you shall prosper, if you guard to do the laws and right rulings with which Yehovah commanded Moshe concerning Israel. Be strong and brave. Do not fear nor be discouraged. See, in my affliction, I've prepared for the house of Yehovah 100,000 talents of gold and 1,000,000 talents of silver and bronze and iron beyond measure for its plenty. And I have prepared timber and stone, and you shall add to them. And with you there are many workmen, hewers and workers of stone and timber, all types of skilled men for every kind of work. Of gold and silver and bronze and iron, there's no limit. Rise up and do, and Yehovah is with you. And David commanded all the rulers of Israel to help Shelomoh his son, saying, Is not Yehovah your Elohim with you? And has he not given you rest all around? For he's given the inhabitants of the land into my hand, and the land has been subdued before Yehovah and before his people. Now, give your heart and your being to seek Yehovah your Elohim, and rise up and build the set-apart place of Yehovah Elohim, to bring the ark of the covenant of Yehovah and the set-apart vessels of Elohim into the house that is to be built for the name of Yehovah. And Psalm 30. I exalt you, O Yehovah, for you have drawn me up, and have not let my enemies rejoice over me. Yehovah, my Elohim, I've cried to you, and you have healed me. Yehovah, you brought me up from Sheol. You've kept me alive from going down into the pit. Sing praise to Yehovah, you lovingly committed ones of his, and give thanks at the remembrance of his set-apartness. For his displeasure is for a moment, his delight is for life. Weeping might last for the night, but joy comes in the morning. As for me, I've said in my ease, never would I be shaken. Yehovah, in your good pleasure you have made my mountain to stand strong. You hid your face and I was troubled. I cried out to you, O Yehovah, and to Yehovah I prayed. What gain is there in my blood when I go down to the pit? Would dust praise you? Would it declare your truth? Hear, O Yehovah, and show me favor. Yehovah, be my helper. You've turned my mourning into dancing for me. You've torn off my sackcloth and girded me with gladness, so that esteem might praise you and not be silent. O Yehovah, my Elohim, thank you forever.